verbal riot.
Guys, we're finally here. We finally made it. It's been a long, rough road, and we have finally arrived at the point where we can talk about this film. Before I do that, though, it's kind of funny because I was hanging out with some friends of mine over the weekend. We were at a bar having a few drinks, few laughs, and we were talking about films that changed the zeitgeist of Hollywood. You know what I mean? That changed the industry forever. Like we're talking about Pulp Fiction. We're talking about The Usual Suspects. We're talking about Fight Club, right? Just these legendary films, right? That made the industry have to change. Disney Snow White is not that movie. It's not that movie. This movie was cursed from day one. And the weird thing about this for me is it's a Snow White movie. It really shouldn't be that controversial, right? It's the basic story. We all know the story. This should have been just an easy win. But Disney, right? Disney, they like to do things the hard way. So but I got to tell you, I don't know if this was completely all Disney's fault, right? Because even though there were problems with production, even though there were problems with the budget, we can all agree that the biggest problem they have is their lead actress, Rachel Zegler, who, oh boy, did she piss off a lot of people.
I mean, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yep, that was the weird heard around the internet. And boy, did the internet latch on to that, especially YouTube. And the thing that's really tragic about this is if that were her only blunder, I would say, you know what? Look, it's Hollywood. People make mistakes. They say stupid things, and if they're smart, they move on from that mistake and have a pretty nice career, right? But Rachel Zegler couldn't help herself, right? Because a smart person would have done that interview, realized how bad they came off, and disappeared for a little while, right? No media, no talking, no social media, nothing. Just blackout for a while. Let people forget, right? Because we have short-term memories now. We don't remember things the way we used to. She could have escaped this. But no, Rachel continued over and over at every chance she got to remind you how annoying and how spoiled she is. So over the past couple of months, she's been trying to revamp her image. And I'm pretty sure it's because of a pretty stern talk from Disney and especially her agent. So she's been trying to play nice as much as Rachel Zegler could play nice, right? She's been putting out these posts, these tweets about being positive, these Instagrams about everyone being nice to each other. And through it all, you could see the grit, the anger behind her newfound look on life, right? You can tell she doesn't mean any of those words. So Rachel has become kind of a polarizing figure, I guess you could say, in Hollywood, and it shows quite a bit in this movie. Now, a lot of you guys who are in this internet space, you know all the drama that's going on with Snow White. You know it, okay? Like there's no secret as to what's been going on, right? We heard about the budget, we heard about the reshoots, we heard about the reshoots, we heard about the reshoots. I think there was like 4 or 5 reshoots they did for this film, man, just to make her come off pleasant. Okay. And I'm going to get deeper into my review of the movie, but Rachel Zegler, unfortunately for her, is the biggest. It's weird. It's like she's the biggest problem with this movie, but she's also, dare I even say, the best thing about this movie. So, and I know that sounds contradicting, but you guys are going to realize what I'm talking about. But yeah, this was a wild experience, man, to witness, because I've been around the film business. I've been in and around for probably 20, 30 years. Seen a lot of people come and go. I've seen a lot of people careers blow up. I've seen a lot of people's careers take a huge nosedive, and I've never seen anything quite like Rachel Zegler, if I'm being honest with you.
The worst. She's the worst in the world.
She might not be the worst in the world, but she's definitely not good for the business, and especially for Disney. And I got to tell you, after this whole experience, I don't believe this girl has a career. I'm going to get more into that later. I think this might be her. I don't know, her final show. But with that said, let's just get straight into the review because there's a lot to talk about. Okay. Snow White, Disney's Snow White. The reason why people made a big deal about this, besides the fact that Rachel acted like an asshole, is Snow White is a pretty important Disney princess. You get what I'm saying? Snow White is the princess that started it all. She's the original Disney princess, right? Walt Disney took that story from the Brothers Grimm and changed it to where it became a kids movie or a kid's story, right? And when it premiered back in like 1939 or something crazy like that. But it was Disney's first big budget theater film. So that's how important Snow White is. And guys, over the time, there have been so many Snow White movies, not just by Disney, but just by so many studios, because I believe Snow White is public domain, right? So there's been a lot of Snow White films, a ton of them. There was even a black Snow White, I think, or I think it was a black Cinderella. But either way, the story's been told 1,000 times. There's nothing groundbreaking about Snow White. And that's what I'm saying. This should have been an easy win for them, especially in a time where there's really nothing in the theater right now. I don't even know where to start, but I guess the best place to start for me would be the CGI is terrible. I'm going from low to high, okay, on this. The CGI was bad. The dwarves, I couldn't even look at them most of the time. I despise the uncanny valley, right? I don't like when they use CGI when they could have used real actors for the part. I hate that shit. And yeah, these dwarves were nightmare fuel, man. I don't know. Okay, so if you're targeting kids, right? This is a movie that's targeting ages 3 through 9. I would say maybe it'll come off okay, but even then, I think compared to other kids shows and kids movies, the CGI doesn't even hold up to that. So I don't know who this is for, to be honest with you. There were times where I was watching this where it looked like a cut scene from a video game, and I felt like I was playing, I was playing movie theater rodeo, right? Like, how like in a rodeo you have to stay on the bull for 8 seconds, right? Like that's how I felt watching this movie. Like I was in my seat ready to just get up and walk out several times, right? But I held on. I'm like, you know what? I can do this. Right? And it was funny to me is I'm looking around at the audience and their reactions, man, just completely blank, no expressions. When after each song number, which I'm gonna get into that too. After each song number, no clapping, no anything, no expressions from the crowd. Because I was looking at the crowd just as much as I was looking at the movie. Parents are not going to enjoy this, right? Their kids might, but I don't think parents are really going to get into this. This is a movie that is probably only going to satisfy 5-year-olds and those weird Disney adults. right? Like I just don't think it's going to do anything. But again, the CGI is bad, so I'm going with the CGI. The music was fine, I guess. It's a musical. It's a musical, and to give Rachel Zegler her credit, she has a nice voice. She could sing. I honestly, that's probably the only compliment that I'm going to pay to her in this review is the fact that she could sing. She could sing. Then there were the hobos. There were the bandits that she kind of linked up with, right? And I know people like to use that word DEI quite a bit these days, but this was almost the epitome of like DEI casting, man. Like these bandits were just you had two black people, two white people. I think you had one Asian, and then you had a midget, right? And none of these people look like they could fight. None of these people, they all look like they were like dancers. They look like dancers, right? And they look like they were going to lead a parade or lead a float in the pride parade. Like that's how these people look. All right. And I'm not trying to slam gay people. I'm just saying I live in Hollywood. That's what that looked like. And so I can't really get into the story of it all because it's Snow White. You guys know the story. The queen is jealous of Snow White's fairness, which what's weird? Like they kept trying to say it's about her inward beauty, but through the whole film, it seemed like they were making it about her outer beauty. They were trying to make it seem like Snow White is more attractive than Gal Gadot, right? That Rachel Zegler was more attractive than Gal Gadot. Like even though they kept, what's funny? That whole inner beauty thing, it didn't come into play till the very end of the film. So through the whole film, and you're watching this, the queen goes to this mirror like, oh my God, and that's the other problem. The queen, like literally every 10 minutes, the queen was in front of the mirror asking who's the fairest. Every 10 minutes. I'm like, lady, really? Like, what are we doing here? And each time they made it about the outer appearance, right? So all this inner beauty BS, they threw it on at the end, probably because of the social media reactions. Anyway, so there were some veiled messages of socialism in this film, I mean, but at least for the most part, at least it was subtle. Okay, like there was a lot of like socialist type ideas in this film where the king and the royalty, provided food and resources equally to the people, right? No one had to work extra hard for anything. You were taken care of no matter what. Now, maybe that's a dig, and maybe I'm digging a little too much, but honestly, that's literally how it comes off. And I will, to their credit, it was subtle. It wasn't like completely beating you over the head with it, but it was fairly subtle. And what's funny? I was asking myself, am I going to do spoilers in this review? But it's Snow White, guys. Like honestly, I'm not spoiling anything for you. You know the story of Snow White, and that's what this is. She eats the apple, she dies, I guess, or goes into a coma, whatever the hell happens to her. But instead of a prince kissing her, it's one of the bandits. I guess the least gay looking bandit is the one that woke her up with this little peck, like barely even on her lips, right? Like, like they went so out of their way not to make this a love story, even though there was kind of a love story. But yeah, I that was a weird choice. That was a very weird choice for me. Again, Rachel Zegler did fine as Snow White, I guess. It's Snow White. I didn't see a problem too much with her performance. Gal Gadot completely chewed up the scenery. She was completely over the top, probably in the best way possible. I mean, at least it made things interesting. And other than those two, though, everything else just kind of fell flat, man. And I'll be honest, the biggest crime with this film for me was that it was just boring as hell. Like when I wasn't debating getting up and walking out, I was fighting to stay awake, right? And this was a 7 o'clock movie. This was a 7 o'clock movie. And yeah, you could blame, I ate a couple of gummies before I went to watch the film. And but no, those gummies don't make me fall asleep. They just kind of relax me a little bit. And also I gotta speak on that, right? Before the movie, I was hanging out with, Chris Gore, Alan Ng from Film Threat. We were at the Yard House. My gummies kicked in around the time we're about to leave to go watch the movie. And before we left, though, I was feeling good, right? I was like, hey, guys, I was feeling positive. I'm like, hey, maybe this movie might be even better than we think it's going to be, right? Like, I was super positive. I was crazy positive. I was like, it might surprise us. Maybe it'll be good. Now, sure, it was the gummies talking, but I felt like maybe, and you know what it was? I think I wanted to be pleasantly surprised. I wanted this to be good, right? Not, for Rachel's sake, but just because I hate wasting my time watching bad movies, right? So I never want a movie to be bad. You get what I'm saying? But no, it's exactly what you think it's going to be. It's exactly what you think it's going to be, right? And like I said, I wish I can get more into the story, but you guys know the story. It's a Snow White movie. Now, the crazy thing about this Snow White movie is it's a $300 million Snow White film. And there's no reason for a Snow White movie to ever cost that much money. But from what I've been seeing on social media, the people have been posting pictures of all the empty seats, like, because usually, like, when a big movie's coming out, people reserve their seats, right? And I've seen nothing but photo after photo after photo of nothing but empty theaters for this movie. There's people who, like Alan Ng and even Chris Gore, they think it might do Mufasa numbers. I'm not as optimistic about that, but I guess anything's possible. There is no competition. There's no competition for this movie, which is even sadder, right? Like, you would think with no competition, this big Disney project would kill in the box office, but there's no evidence of this. There's literally no evidence of this. I'm talking, I think it's going to do worse than Brave New World, if I'm being completely honest. But regardless, that's not really what we want to talk about, is it? No, we want to get into the dirt. We want to get into the dirt. And I if I'm being real, I think Rachel Zegler's career is over. Theatrically, right? As far as movies, I think stage wise, she might have a career. I think that she is built for Broadway. I think she is built for the Broadway crowds, because I'm sorry, but I hate to say this, and I like musicals. They're a little pretentious. Broadway crowds are pretentious. They're a little up their own ass. And I think that's the perfect audience for Rachel Zegler, if I'm being completely honest. I think she'll do well there. And I think that's probably where her career will lie. If Rachel does attempt to go back into movies, I think it's only going to be as a supporting character. She will not be the lead in the film. Now, there's debate amongst me and my comrades that if this movie does well, she'll be okay. She'll still have a career. I don't think so. I think once you have established that you are this hard to work with, and best believe Disney has muzzled this girl as much as they can over the past 6 months, right? They have stopped premieres. They have cut premieres. They have stopped red carpets. They won't let her talk to the media. They have done a lot to silence her. And I think when a studio has to go to those extremes for an actress or an actor who's never had one hit under their belt, there's no way. There's no way. I think even if this movie does well, I think she's done. I think she's done. I think Snow White, this movie for Disney is going to be a big loss, which is not good because they've already had a big loss a month ago with Captain America. I think the only thing that's going to save Disney this year will probably be Lilo and Stitch and possibly the Fantastic Four. Possibly the Fantastic Four. And we don't even know that yet. And I got to tell you, the more and more I see of Pedro Pascal on social media, the less and less I want to see the Fantastic Four. Casting Pedro Pascal was a huge mistake by Disney. Huge mistake. They could have had an easy winner if they had cast a better actor. But they refuse to learn their lessons, you know, and I hope Pedro doesn't sink their movie. I will say this, Pedro might be just a little bit better media-wise than Rachel Zegler, but not by much. And I think people are just tired of seeing him. And yes, this Snow White movie is so bad that I'm already talking about other films. I'm already talking about other movies because that's how terrible this movie is. I'm not going to recommend this film, guys. But if you are going to go watch it, I do recommend, you know, loading up on some drinks. Definitely don't go in there sober. Don't do it because it's going to be painful. If you got kids, I understand you got to go watch it. But you dads out there and you moms, I mean, shit, I'm not sexist. You know, take a few shots before you go into that theater. You know, it might dull the pain a little bit. But this movie, at its core, is just very mediocre. It's just very mediocre, right? Like, it's not even the worst film I've ever seen. It's not even close. It's not even the worst film I've ever seen. It's just so mediocre that it's so mediocre that I'm having a hard time thinking that people are going to pay money for this. Like, people are going to drop $20 a person to go watch this movie. So if you have to, if you got kids and you got to do it, good luck. If you guys don't have kids and you don't have to see this film and you go watch it, that's on you. That is on you. But you know, you can't say like you were not warned, man. You guys were warned. Anyway, guys, this is like kind of like my quick review. You know, yeah, like I said, I didn't get into the story because the story is the story. It's Snow White. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. This one was just extra spicy because of who was involved with it and all the controversy behind it. But other than that, this movie is, honestly, if I were to grade it, I mean, it would just be a C movie. It's you know, it's probably fine for kids, not great for adults, but not the worst thing I've ever seen. So, and that's me being fair. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, man. You know, I'm going to be doing the rounds, so I'm going to be on a lot of different shows talking about this movie. I'm going to be on a Critical Drinker this week. I'm going to be talking with quite a few people, so just be on the lookout for that. But anyway, guys, that's it for me, man. Thanks for watching. Always appreciate you guys. If you haven't subbed to the channel, please do that. That always helps. And like the video, share the video, all that good YouTube stuff. And I will talk to you guys soon.